My last two Elden Ring videos were about my concerns for its gameplay design. This one focuses on its story design. Now, this video isn't necessarily a critique, but more of an observation. So feel free to let loose with your thoughts in the comment sections FromSoft fans. Now, I've played plenty of games with amazing stories. Some of my favorites include Final Fantasy, Yakuza, Mass Effect, Undertale, Red Dead Redemption, and Persona. But none of them have ever presented their world or characters quite like Elden Ring, or rather, FromSoft. When I first booted up Elden Ring, I was expecting the story to be told like The Witcher 3? You know, in-game cutscenes, NPC dialogue choices, but as the story progressed, the only cutscene I got was the opening, boss intros, and when I met my horse. Shit. Anyways, there are dialogues with NPCs, but there's no dialogue cutscenes like these. Usually when I see these kinds of NPC dialogue, they're usually unimportant details that only add minuscule information to the narrative. So I skimmed a good amount of these dialogue, a mistake that was corrected a bit late into the game. Another design is that a lot of the lore is found in item descriptions. I did not know this, by the way. Now, I have never encountered this kind of storytelling in my life, thus I didn't read any of the lore until near the end of the game. I know fans of FromSoft will say, well, this is how they do their stories. However, my feelings are mixed because I'm not exactly sure whether I like it or not. From a developer's point of view, it's definitely a plus because they don't have to craft that much cutscenes. From a player's, or rather my point of view, I feel a bit disconnected, albeit this could be intentional on the developer's part. The way I emotionally connect to games is how much I care about the characters, not really the plot or the world themselves. I love Papyrus from Undertale because I adore his personality. I despise Micah from Red Dead because he's an absolute scumbag. I can't say the same for too many characters in Elden Ring. When I faced bosses like Radon, Mikola, Melania, I only had small bits of information on who they are. So facing them feels like I am facing a legend, a myth, a god. Exhilarating, yes, but I have no beef or bond with them emotionally. In fact, it feels like their story has already ended, and the tarnish is only a plot device to end their suffering or misguided ambition. Speaking of the tarnish, there's no dialogue whatsoever with him or her. Now, I've played games with silent protagonists before, Legend of Zelda for example. The point is to allow players to project themselves onto the playable character. However, getting emotionally attached to silent protagonists is near impossible. Instead, the game needs interesting side characters to carry that responsibility. If you ever played Twilight Princess, Midna is the heart of that game, not Link. While Elden Ring has plenty of interesting characters, I didn't spend enough time with them to care. The only NPC I really liked are Sir Ansbach and Bach. You think I would be most attached to Melina or Torn, but to me, they only feel like tools for leveling and traversal. I feel bad for not caring that much about Torn because Agro from Shadow of the Colossus was one of the best companions ever. The last observation I want to talk about is the presentation of Elden Ring's lore. No doubt there's tremendous amount of work and creativity for this world. However, I find myself more intrigued with listening to YouTube channels that talk about the lore rather than reading it in-game. Because these channels focus on one topic, one character, one lore at a time, so it's much easier for me to digest and understand. In gameplay, the lore is explained with item description, but there are so many items in this game that I got lost from one lore to another. Kinda like solving 5 different puzzles at a time, and all of their pieces are mixed together. That said, I wouldn't ask FromSoft to change their storytelling. because it seems to me that this is just their way of presenting their story, and it works for them. However, this style is reliant on being interesting rather than emotionally engaging, kind of like learning history rather than getting to know people. I guess this is why I didn't experience any post-game depression. If you're an Elden Ring fan or a FromSoft fan, feel free to express your opinion on this matter. I'm live almost every night, so if you're in the mood for a discussion, then hop onto my stream.